It seems to me that's the main strategy in your life is capping downside. So it's like, okay, you put $50,000 in a startup, the most you can lose is $50,000. You spend $500,000 on a real estate investment. You're responsible for the cost of maintaining the property. It's a totally different. And I think that explains your experiment thing. So it's not, I'm starting a podcast, now I have to have a podcast forever. You're thinking, I'm committing to 6. So the most, if I don't like it, the most I have to do is 6 episodes of something I don't like.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You're capping, so it's not endless amounts of losses, whether that's time, resources, happiness, money.
Yeah. And I always try to cultivate walkaway power with my own projects.
How do you do that?
I'll explain or try to explain why I think it's important first. If I feel like I have to do something, you lose your optionality.
Yeah.
Right? And furthermore, you begin to make decisions out of fear or guilt, which in my experience almost always turn out poorly.
Yeah.
Similar if you're making decisions out of prestige, can turn out very poorly. I think I borrowed that from Maria Popova and what she said once on the podcast. But cultivating walkaway power is a function for me of revisiting how little you actually need frequently.
Yeah. This is Seneca.
Yeah, Seneca, not Timor's Pauper's Huts, but I will set aside a certain number of days each month or whatever it is to get by with the scantest or scantiest, I always mess that up, of fare. But practicing periods of poverty or
it's like being okay with the rock bottom.
Yeah, making do. I just did this last week. I'm making do for a while with just like instant coffee and like oatmeal in a bag that you cook with boiling water.
Yeah.
And everything's great. And granted, it's different when you do it for an extended period of time. It's different if that's your only option.
Sure.
But nonetheless, constantly revisiting and confirming how little is actually needed is number one. Number two is doing fear setting, this exercise that I talk quite a lot about, which is, of course, borrowed directly from Stoicism and cognitive behavioral therapy, which is also largely based on Stoic philosophy of, what is the term in Latin? It is meditatio
malorum.
Yeah, meditatio malorum. Meditating on the possible evils or risks. So I have a written format, fear setting. People can check out tim.blog/TED if you want to see what that looks like. It's all free. I do that routinely. So we're recording this in January 2020. And I did a lot of fear setting around
us talking, how poorly this could go.
How poorly this conversation with Ryan could go and how I would possibly repair the incredible reputational damage. Around stopping just about everything. So even though I'm not seriously considering, nor do I feel compelled to say stopping the podcast, right? I would write down like, stop the podcast, ? What if I stopped this? What if I stopped all involvement with real estate? What if I stopped all travel?
Sure.
What if I stopped, and I will go through the thought experiment of what if I completely stopped these various things categorically. And when you run through the kind of so what for each of those, ultimately you realize you're going to be fucking fine with all of them.
Sure.
And to that extent, I think that making good decisions is often negotiating with yourself. And that the person you want to have win that negotiation, and this is advice I got a long time ago, is the person who cares the least. And that's not a value judgment. But if you have two people negotiating against each other and one feels like they have to do the deal, and the other person has 20 different BATNAs, right? Best alternative to negotiated agreement, and they don't give 2 shits whether the deal happens or not, or at the very least, they're very comfortable walking away.
Yeah.
he or she who cares the least wins.
Yeah.
And I like to cultivate the side of me that can see how little a lot of the glossy veneer aspects of life add at the end of the day to like the core of what you need to feel content on a regular basis. So that might be a lot of word salad at once, but those are at least some of the ways that I think about it.
No, I think that ties into, we were just talking about the Stoics. Marcus Aurelius has this thing, he says, like, ask yourself at every moment, is this necessary? Like what you're thinking, what you're doing, what you're desiring, is this necessary? And that seems, you used to have a sign in your house that said like, simplify.
Still have it.
Yeah, that seems like you guys are in alignment. You're like, how, do I need this? Do I want this? What would happen if I didn't have it? Why does everyone else want it? It seems like you're constantly questioning that.